Rolling dice is a big part of tabletop games, and usually I just roll them on the table among all the miniatures and terrain. But sometimes that can get problematic. In this video, we're going to make some quick trays to attach to our gaming table. Let's go. Now, if you haven't seen my table build video, I'll fill you in. I've left these grooves on the side so that I can mount and attach different trays or drink holders. I hadn't quite figured out what to use for the attachment, and I was actually planning on using some aluminum trim sections originally. Since then, I've gotten a lot more experience with 3D printers and 3D design, so I thought I would try and draft up some clips to go in the holes instead. After measuring the specific dimensions of the groove, I mocked this piece up and printed it. It seems to slot in well. Alright, now for the actual tray itself. The go-to material here is 3/4 inch plywood. Cut out a square with my table saw, and then also cut out some side profiles. Now, I was debating cutting out some joinery as well, but it seems a bit overkill, so let's keep it simple. Just going to glue these butted up against each other, and it should hold up plenty after I add a couple screws from underneath. Making sure to get glue on both surfaces and then using a whole load of clamps to keep it together as it dries. Wood glue has a surprising amount of strength when applied properly. I take some extra care to make sure all the pieces are clamped at 90 degrees as well, using a clamp to make micro adjustments. As this takes several hours to cure, let's talk a bit about our sponsor. Well, I don't have one. But I do have a web store where I sell 3D designs for miniatures and terrain. Go check it out at narbmakes.itch.io. Also linked in the description. Alright, once the glue is dry, we can carry on. First, to add all those screws I mentioned to give some extra strength. And I also take some time to sand off all the rough edges from the cuts with some 120 grit sandpaper. After mounting all the clips, let's do a test of stability. This is still sort of a prototype and we need to work out the kinks. Bit of a wobble there. To give it some extra stability when mounted, I added this piece of 2x4 to act as a brace for downward force. This should transfer a lot of the weight applied laterally instead of stressing the plastic connectors. And for some finishing touches, I came in with some basic house paint and coated everything in 2 even coats. I have to be careful here not to lay the paint on too thick and brush away any drips or pools of paint. Thin coats work best. I don't bother painting the inner middle of the tray as we'll be using some fabric for that part. To give the dice something soft to bounce on, I added a square of leftover neoprene, which I had lying around. It's what mouse pads are made of. On top, I found an old sweater that was being thrown out and used some spray adhesive to secure it in place. Now my cuts are far from perfect and I left some jagged edges in places. To cover that up, I cut out some thin pieces of packing foam and lined the sides. I chose this specific material since it was gray and it would blend in well. And there you have it. Now I can add and remove these trays as needed to the gaming table and have a place to roll all the dice I could ever want. Hope you found that useful. See you around.